What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another very special episode of Blerdcast. Today, I am joined by another pantheon of legendary black women who are killing it in the nerd game. Oh my god, what is that? Okay, going live. You never know what happens when you go live. But first of all, I'd like to say happy belated Mother's Day to everyone.
Thank you
Thank you.
for the mothers.
Thank you.
I'm not one.
Okay. But before we get started,
If
before I introduce everyone, I got a couple of announcements and housekeeping notes. First thing, if you would like to support Blerdography, you can do so by leaving a super in the live chat or a gift or by becoming a channel member for lower as $2 a month. You get so many different benefits that we'll talk about later in this episode. And then also MomoCon. MomoCon is coming up in about a week, and just about everybody here is going to be there, so that's going to be exciting. And RSP, Rangers Stop and Pop Atlanta 2025, will be 2 weeks after that, June 13th through the 15th. So much to come, so much content to come out of Blerdography, so please, if you can, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. But before we begin, I would like to introduce and welcome my pantheon of black women. Why don't you go ahead and start the introductions, Joy?
hello, everybody out there in podcast land. My name is Joy Stevens. Hey, and I wanted to say, so I am a diversity inclusion expert by day, nerd girl, like everyone else on this panel, as well as, hey, Miles Simmons, as well as gamer, podcaster, blogger, several other ers along that line. And so I'm just here today to moderate this conversation because of this cast, this pantheon that you see before you. I am just a fan of all these women. So I get to just sit here and speak to the celebrities that I love. And I'm excited for these amazing women who came back for part two. This is the sequel, if you will, to the first Black Women in Nerdy Spaces that we did a few weeks ago. And so I'm going to start from what on my screen is my right with Stephanie B. Cunningham. Steph, if you would introduce yourself.
Oh, sure. So I am B. Cunningham of B. Cunningham Cosplay. I am an award-winning cosplayer in craftsmanship. I also do tokusatsu fan covers on Blue Storm Entertainment on YouTube, where you can find me at any time, along with B. Cunningham Cosplay on every platform.
Wonderful. Izzy, you're up next.
Hi, my name is Aishanique, but you can call me Izzy. All my handles are Izzy Ishihara. I am a Sailor Moon main cosplayer. Besides cosplaying, I write paranormal romance, avid animator. I do not play games. I like to watch other people do that. But this is my first time here in the nerdy spaces with Black women. So I am very happy to be here, very happy to be a part of everything. So thank you for having me.
Okay. Next up, go ahead. Oh, I believe we have a little technical difficulty with Shayna, so I'm going to jump her for just 1 second, and that brings me around on my screen to Robbie. You're up next.
Hello, welcome. I am Robbie J. Atkinson. I am a filmmaker by trade, but also pivoting to do more writing as an author. I'm the writer and creator of this upcoming manga series named The Seventh Kingdom. And I don't cosplay, but I definitely love anime. I could have like a 5-hour conversation about it if you let me. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Okay, next up we have Tanya.
Hi, I'm Tanya Woods. Everybody knows me probably as Thrill Builds. I do cosplay, I do pop commissions, stuff like that. I also game, and I am a lifelong maker. So I do a bit of dabbling in electronics, lasers, all good geeky stuff. And I am so happy that you all invited me.
Wonderful.
And I'm also a showrunner for the Atlanta Science Fiction and Fantasy Expo.
Oh, wonderful. No, I can't forget that part. Teresa, you're next.
Hi, I'm Teresa, and I should have gone first because I'm very boring compared to everybody else. I'm a novice cosplayer, nerd girl, frequent podcast panelist, because I like to talk about my nerdisms, and I'm apparently a professional con volunteer since I volunteer for Atlanta Sci-Fi Fantasy Expo and MomoCon and Dragon Con and Ranger Stop. So, if you're at one of those, you can probably find me, usually somewhere near Dana.
Mhm. Speaking of Dana, Dana, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dana, also known as Danique Cosplay and Danique Events. Another serial con volunteer staff member. You'll see me at MomoCon, Ranger Stop in Pop Atlanta, Dragon Con, Ranger Stop Orlando, and the list goes on. I also am the co-host and executive producer for Moana Nui podcast. My producer, assistant producer for The Bop with Karen Ashley, the Yellow Power Ranger, and the list goes on.
And so, thank you for those introductions. We're going to get right into it because the reason we're here tonight is we had so much to talk about last time we got together that it ran over. And we're going to pick up right where we left off. So if you missed the first session, what you need to do is go back and watch it because you're slipping. But just to recap, we talked about what it was like occupying space as a Black nerd girl. Because you've got the Black or people of color, you've got the nerd, and then you've got the woman, because we're women at this point, on top of all of that, and what that space was like. And we were just getting into the fact that we've all now reached an age where we have adult money and how that is different than we were younger. So I'll just share what I mean by all of this. I remember having an Atari 2600 because that's how old I am. And then I didn't get another game system while I lived in my parents' house because they were like, that's for boys and you're too old for that anyway. And so the whole Nintendo, like early era, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, I had to go to my homeboy Richard's house to watch him play with his friends because it wasn't something that my parents were going to invest in for me. So when I got adult money, the first thing I bought when it came out was the original PlayStation. I was so excited about that because I never stopped loving games. It's just I had to wait until I could afford it myself because the people who had the purse strings didn't think it was appropriate for me. They wouldn't let me play the drums neither, and I'm still mad about that. I could have been the next Sheila E. But anyway, for other people, what does it mean for you when you think about the fact that you have adult money now?
For me, it's like what you said is being able to get the things that you couldn't. I had the same situation of like having that comparison of like this is for boys, comics, action figures, um, and then even the aspect of anime is for boys, for kids, and it's like no, it's not. So I can buy the stuff I want, but at the same time, it's the stuff that give me my own endorphins. Give me and it coming home from, stress from work and a stressful week, I can, watch my anime. I can get on my, PS4 and play some games. I can get on and watch some Asian dramas, it's whatever that gives me that joy. And it's one of those that, hey, we can control that aspect that we couldn't have when we were younger.
Would anybody else like to join in?
So for real, to be like super real.
Let's do Robbie and then Tanya.
Sorry about that. To be so real, I still don't feel like I have adult money. But honestly though, I have this very distinct memory of when I was a kid. Whenever I would go anywhere, I remember I would see like a Sailor Moon shirt and be like, "Oh, mom, can I get that?" And she'd be like, "When you get your own money, you get that." And you see, when she said that, I think she thought I took it lightly. So when I got to like college and I came home with Sailor Moon shirts and Sailor Moon purses, she was like, "You were serious?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am. This was not a game." But honestly, for me, lately, it's been investing in experiences that allow me to be immersed in like this the culture that like anime and manga came from, and then also investing in like my interest, which kind of translates to investing in my business too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have it with me right now, but I just got an order for like a limited edition cup that we're gonna have for a collab with Tiger Sugar, and like just seeing this design on this cup and knowing that that is from your imagination is just like it's a very fulfilling sense. But it is true that growing up, it was kind of like that's that other stuff. Like you get that on your own time, so it's a sense of like fulfillment and achievement. I'd say now.
Yeah. Tanya, before we go to you, I just want to recognize a couple of folks out in the audience. Thank you all for watching. So the Husky Hokage, that's a cool name. Miles Simmons, I see the connections there. But Miles said you pay taxes, so you have adult money. That is very true. Because when I was asking for stuff, I also did not have to pay any taxes. And but I want to go to Tanya right now to add to this conversation.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so for me, especially as a cosplayer and a builder, when I first was doing cosplay, it was like back in the day, and all we kind of had was fabric, and you could maybe Frankenstein a pattern from like McCall's or somewhere. And when I came back to cosplay, I was in college and I was a little bit broke. But as I've moved on in my career and I have a little bit more money, I remember looking at videos on YouTube and being like, these people have all this equipment, they have all this stuff. That's why they're doing this stuff. And being a little kind of resentful instead of maybe I should have been jealous. And then I looked up one day and I had like a whole studio full of all that same stuff. And I realized that as I grew in my interest, so too did my tools and my methods and my techniques. And I was able to pay for those things. And so I'm grateful for that, because I know that there's lots of people who are like, okay, but if I had a 3D printer, I could be able to do X. And I'm like, well, it's not just a 3D printer, but at the same time, I understand the difference between something that maybe before I would have just kind of freehand cut it and glued it together versus I can 3D print or cut on a Glowforge. So it's definitely enabled me to expand both my interests and the quality of things that I create.
You know, I feel you on the cut freehand and paste it together. That's my entire costumeography. Is everything is pasted, stitched. There's a couple things held together with duct tape on the inside. You know, it all works. It all works.
There's nothing wrong with that, because I totally have 3D printed things that also have duct tape on the inside.
Okay.
That big old 3D 3-inch Gorilla tape.
Gorilla, yes. Thank you.
Now, you got to use the Gorilla tape. If you're gonna tape, use the Gorilla tape.
Yeah.
You're not getting any money from them, by the way.
Oh yeah, so we're not giving them any additional stuff. One other thing that I want to talk about when this idea of adult money is, you know, I mentioned like I had an Atari 2600 and then I had this gap. And then the next thing I know, I've got a PlayStation. So I missed the Sega, I missed the Nintendo 64, the Super Nintendo era where, and I'm going somewhere with this. If you think about the fact that maybe there was around the video games, because that's kind of my heaviest nerddom. I didn't see myself a lot in video games. I think there was one character in Virtua Fighter or one of the early Tekkens that was like a black woman. She had hella legs too. Like for the most part, Chun-Li was the only person that I would like see in fighting games because, you know, she had thighs and I had thighs. And so I identified with that because that's all I had. And then as I started to see more characters, it wasn't until I was grown, like in my 30s, which would be 20 years ago, that I started seeing like black women as actual black women and not as weird like purple or green characters or whatever in video games and anime, etc. And I wonder, going back to this idea of adult money, I wonder if we have been allowed to support the comic books, the video games, the movies, what have you, in those formative teenage years during like the time when like 16 Candles and all that stuff was coming out. You didn't see a lot of stuff from us, but we were kind of held hostage by the parents' purse strings to not contribute to that discussion of what's the demographic for consuming this media. We weren't there because we were still growing up, so to speak. And so I wonder if my parents had let me use my allowance to buy what I wanted, the way my friend Richard's parents let him use his allowance to get a Super Nintendo, maybe we'd be in a different place. But that's just my opinion. What do y'all think? Dana, I see you nodding your head.
No, I think that was our disadvantage in that 80s, 90s time frame. Like we, the Atari you referred to, my grandmother had one, and that was my first exposure to gaming. And then, of course, my parents gave me the first Nintendo, uh, because they were like, okay, she, it's got my mom thing was it had a power pad, so that was her her connection to it. I think that's why I got it. But it's because of that we had our own niche of black, you know, exploit um movies and stuff. But as
Mhm.
far as stuff geared to teens, we really didn't have that. And of course, there's still that misconceived notion of this is not for black people, this is for
Mhm.
white people. Because we were not seen or allowed to be part of that in our
Mhm.
younger years. So it became this thing that this is not for black people. But
Mhm.
we were present. It's just you never saw it.
Yeah, you're
I
right. You're right.
also piggyback on that too, and I would say that, especially if like for my parents or even like people that I've talked to around me, like contributing to things like that doesn't seem important. I would say for the older generation, like video games isn't, cartoons isn't important. Like you need to, get in the medical field, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be something. Like those
Lawyer,
those are
doctor,
important
engineer.
things. And I
Hmm.
would say comic books will probably be at the bottom of that list. So for that reason, like even though it was important for us, we were children back then. Who really? I mean, even still today, who really pays attention to like children when they speak?
That's a
Um,
good one.
so I would say, if anything, I I'm happy that I have, you know, adult money and I can now put
Mhm.
in that kind of work because it does like there are a lot of kids that look at comic books like even though you're an adult and you don't care about it, your kids is watching this stuff or your kids are emulating these things. So why wouldn't you want them to have a representation? But um to have grace on the older people, like, they weren't even taught to think like that. But
True.
I'm always happy that I'm in this generation where we're kind of like
Mhm.
moving a little bit, like people are understanding like the worth and representation and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and you know, it,
Yeah. I want to
it,
say a quick shout out to EJ Leary in the chat. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being here with us tonight as a witness to this greatness. But also, Shayna, we didn't get a chance to have you introduce yourself.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so
My
go ahead and hit us
my
with it.
camera was skitzing.
So,
But
no, you can do it now.
so my name is Shayna. I'm sorry. My name is Shayna. I'm the creator of 9 Acres and a Vibe. I have a comic book called Hammer University. It's about a girl that goes to a fictional HBCU, and I don't usually know how to wrap up intros, so I'm done.
Well, that was perfect. Wrapped well. I want to jump into out of the consumerism part of like video games and comic books, etc. Because we talked about like the adult money piece of it. And I want to still on adult money, but in a different way for my cosplayers that are here with us today. How has that changed your game, upped your game, brought you some game? Like what? How do you afford what can sometimes be a very expensive um, side hustle, pastime, hobby, however you want to categorize it, business for some of y'all? How do you budget that along with, you know, the way these eggs is costing right now, you know, how are you putting all that together?
I'm gonna say, I didn't start cosplaying until I was 25. I was putting myself through college and I was working at the same time. So my mom didn't allow me to like put my money towards cosplaying and things. So I had to wait till I literally graduated college to put money towards my cosplays. So one thing that I do when I know I want to cosplay and it costs some money, I work overtime.
Mm,
I'll work overtime. I'll get a second job. I'll tutor. I'll do what I need to do because whenever I cosplay, I'm happy. That's when I'm at my happiest. So whatever I need to do to get that money, I'm gonna do it legally.
well, yeah, within reason. Right, right, right. Yeah, right. But I like the way you said that. It makes me happy. So whatever I need to do within reason to get that money, I'm gonna do it. I love that. I love that because I don't think we as Black women spend enough time wallowing in our own joy. No pun intended. You know. Anybody else want to talk for the cosplayers? Anybody else want to touch on that budget?
For me, I consider myself still as part of the newbies into cosplaying because I didn't start doing that until got dived into 2018. But it was definitely one of those that I have to like plan accordingly, like especially deciding between if it's going to be something that is going to be, a lot of people, you can make stuff by going to thrift stores and piecing stuff together, like, or it can get intricate that you have to get, like for me, I ain't got the time to sew. I know how to sew. I don't have the time. I will commission somebody to make it for me, or I will find some company that has it online that I could order from. And
Yep.
thank goodness for like a firm
Me
and
costumes.
all these other things that you can do payment plan.
Oh, look, clap for Florida.
Now, I would say, oh, I'm sorry, Michelle.
No. Go ahead.
I would say the new tariff situation has thrown a stick in a lot of people's plans. Like Miku costumes and
You've got, yeah, I was gonna say it's me costumes and easy cosplay, and yeah, that has definitely thrown a wrench in not only the what is considered the fast fashion cosplay, but also even the supplies itself, like to kind of piggyback off of what you guys were saying, like let's say it really does depend on the type of costume that I'm doing. Like it could be a closet cosplay where it's a thrift store, or if it's something that I'm doing for like a craftsmanship contest where I have to make anywhere between 70% and up of my costume, it can add up, and that's when budgeting comes in and knowing exactly how much you're going to need for said costume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right,
And the hard part is, as somebody who makes and I use a lot of things like casting supplies, we kind of just got over the hump that was COVID. Because for many, many years, like 2 or 3 years after COVID, we were still being told, well, prices are high or certain products are in limited supply because of differences that occurred during COVID. Companies went out of business. I know a lot of people got foam from TNT Cosplay. They went belly up, and now you have to get foam from a different place. And so yeah, I can definitely see the difference in a lot of the products that I buy. I do make my stuff, but I have to buy a lot of stuff, and it's gotten extremely expensive. In as much as how I finance my own cosplays, I used to take commissions. I'm actually finishing up the last of my commissions this year because I realized that I literally can never charge a private buyer the amount that it takes to create some of the things that I have created for myself and for other people.
Wow.
And it's not that I don't want to, but it is time consumptive. And charging for labor. I know a lot of people that say, oh, I'm a cosplay commissioner and I live off of my cosplay stuff. They do, but they live a very tenuous existence, right? And I kind of just refuse to be too stressed about certain things. And so I decided that I can't do that anymore. I want to, but most people, it's been a while now since I've made anything for less than about $1,500. Even that, it's not tenable anymore. So, for my own stuff, I'll spend whatever I want to spend on my own costume. And, my own costumes, I think for most cosplayers, you have a costume and you make it, and then you either walk away from it, or over time, you're constantly updating it, spiffing it up, repairing it, adding something to it. So to put a price on an individual cosplay can be very difficult. But I definitely have my daytime hustle, and then I would, commission stuff on the side. And I still do some other kind of like arts and crafts stuff that I sell, or small projects. But the daily grind of doing props and cosplay is like a side hustle. I've had to let that one go.
Good point. I
Also,
think
the thought of living off of making cosplay is rather scary because on top of cosplay being a very expensive hobby, I also like really nice things. And the way that people will try to undercut the way that people will try to undercut you for what is considered handmade, it's like, no, I like too many nice things. I can't do this. I will stick to the day job.
Yeah, I'm with you when you're right. Because money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy convenience, comfort, survival, and a few other things. And so once all those things are met, then I can play around. But I the first cosplay I did, you know what? I had this conversation with somebody the other day around Halloween, and I'm like, you say you don't cosplay, but you in a outfit that you're proud of every Halloween. So you can recycle that outfit at Dragon Con and be right here with the rest of us and quit pretending that you don't cosplay. But the first one I did was literally just a black jean jacket and a plastic machete from Party City, and a bad dreadlock wig, and I was Michonne, and that's all it took. And I think, as y'all might agree with, the goal of the cosplay is, can people look at you and know what you were trying to do? And so people were like, oh, Michonne. I was like, yay. And I'm probably going to recycle. I still have that terrible dreadlock wig. I might do something else with it, which, again, when we talk about budgets, how can I repurpose this? What else can I do with this? If I get another knife, then maybe I can do dual wielding or something and paint it differently. And then the first time I put something in my hair is when I was Rogue. And I think that picture of Rogue is in the promo. That was white acrylic paint from Michael's or Target. And I think it was $4. And I just took a handful and I was like, I hope this comes out. And it worked great. And it rinsed right out in the shower, so as you go along, as you all know, you get better at it. So I think we talked about this a little bit last time, but before I jump into our next topic, just to round up the cosplay thing, what's your either favorite and or most expensive cosplay? Since we're talking adult money, now it's bragging time. This, by the time it was all over, this was topping out at blah 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 blah. So talk to me. Give me these baller butt
yes, Stephanie. How much do you spend your cosplay?
No.
Which one do we start with? Okay, so Viva Las Venus, Vegas showgirl Sailor Venus. The ostrich feathers by themselves cost me about $300 because it was 27-inch ostrich feathers on the bustle and then 18-inch ostrich feathers on the hat. That does not include the 848 rhinestones. Wow. that are plastered across the bodysuit, along with the $150 worth of rhinestones that are all along the gauntlets, plus the additional 400 to 500 rhinestones on the back of the shoes. If I include my labor, that costume would probably round out to about $3,000 to $4,000 if I include labor.
Okay, that's amazing. I would love to see that. And like somebody said under Atlanta Sci-Fi Expo, real feathers are impressive. The minute you said ostrich feathers, I was like, woo.
Yep. That one, same thing with Carnival Poison Ivy. Carnival Poison Ivy had how many? 1, 2, 3 different types of ostrich feathers on it, plus the duck feathers and the goose and the pink tip goose feathers. So that's just the wings by itself. So
wow. But anybody else want to top
there
that?
were 3 versions of the Pacific Rim drive suit, which is kind of the thing that brought me back to cosplay. My mom sewed me a Batgirl when I was about 6, and that was the end of me being willing to wear a store-bought costume. And this continued on for the rest of my life. And then when I went off to college, I was in school and I kind of tried to put it behind me because I felt like I was a little bit too old. But I kept seeing that more and more people were going back to it. And I saw Pacific Rim wanted a drive suit and I couldn't get anybody to make me one. I went to like the guys that do the Stormtrooper armor. I went to folks that do like RPG type stuff, and all of them were like, no. And finally, one guy was like, why don't you just do it yourself? And I was like, I don't know how. And he's like, well, you can learn on YouTube. Now, I'm a bit older. So the last time I had looked at YouTube, it was a place for like old retired commercials.
Yeah.
I didn't know about this whole educational side of YouTube that had grown out of the platform. So I went back, and that was like the first costume that I did. So I didn't know anything about making armor. So the first one I did was half of a pep one with Pepicure, which is where you cut out paper and you glue it all together, and you put hardening on it and all this kind of stuff. I didn't like that one, so I immediately went to foam. So the first time I wore it, it was just foam, and I was pretty happy with it. People didn't really know what it was, but it happens. So I did another one, and then the third, like in its final form, the last time I wore it, it was made out of Kydex, which is an industrial thermoplastic that they use to make like gun hilts. The
butt or the handle of the gun.
Yeah. And it has to be heat formed. So I had to get a vacuum former. It costs a lot. Yes.
So you got 1, 2, 3, a lot. Just a lot.
We'll just call it a lot. The batteries on it, the first time I wore it, it had something like 62 lights, and each one of those lights was a battery operated mini pip that had 2 of those. I don't remember the number, the little teeny weeny CR batteries that you stack up. And I had to have a helper that would stick all of those in. And the batteries alone, I was burning through probably about $40 worth of batteries every time I wore it.
Wow.
I upgraded that later, but it now runs on like, a $60 battery pack. Nice. You can spend as much money as you want to in cosplay. You've got people out there who are going to folks that work at actual studios and buying replicas. The last couple of costumes that I make are not being worn. I have a repeat customer who has had me remake some movie stuff, and it's just in his man cave.
That's cool, though. Again,
the hobby tolerates whatever you're willing to spend on it.
Congratulations. Thank you, Miles, for becoming a YouTube member of the crew. Well done. Yes. Claps on a circle of applause.
Joy, for myself, my first cosplay was my most expensive because my first cosplay I wanted to do was Captain Yodoichi. I've seen so many people do Yodoichi after she's come to Earth from Bleach, but they never did her captain form. But there was no one who made that had that costume readily available for me to purchase. So I had to commission that. And so that was my most expensive because I was like, I want it exactly with her robe and everything, which was my very first cosplay. Now, my most popular one was when I did and that one I was able to purchase it online. I was like, yay, save myself money. But I ended up doing from Fire Force. I did my cosplay from Fire Force for Captain Princess Ivana. And I got custom contact to be just like her eyes, which visibility was like that much. So I had to have somebody walk me around when I was in that. But it was very popular because, of course, people knew instantly who she was because of the my wig, everything. But my Captain Yodoichi, I had to commission somebody to make everything from her. Every piece of her outfit was through that, and that was my very first cosplay. And I was like, this is expensive. And they were like, oh, you could buy stuff online. I'm like, okay, next costume will be online. But at the same time, you also know if it's a costume you really want to do, you have to lean into commissioning somebody because you may not be able to find it to purchase on like Easy Cosplay or any of those Amazon or any places like that.
My when I did Rogue, I was feeling myself because I had just lost a lot of weight, so I was feeling like real sexy, and so I was gonna wear this bodysuit and leather jacket that Rogue wears, which I pulled it off. Howsomever, one of the issues that I find with not off the rack, but like online stuff, especially if it's coming from overseas, is I don't think they've ever seen anybody my size in their life. So their idea of double extra large is like a 8, and I'm sitting here with like half a thigh and 2/4 of my breast in this outfit. And I'm glad I had the leather jacket on, because that rogue outfit did not zip up all the way in the back. When it did zip, I coughed and I felt the chill of a broken zipper. So it was a lot. It was like, it looked great from the front. I took a whole lot of pictures in it, but that's why I never ran it back, because I was like, this is going in the trash. Which again, when we talk about fast fashion and everything, it was of that price range. I could just throw it in the trash. Now my Queen Charlotte stuff, I've bought dresses and altered them, to cut the bust line a little bit lower, put the girls up front. I bought a bigger bustle, to do a couple different things. And I found myself looking at regular things over the course of the year. I can use this for this, or this can be a part of that. I got so many corsets now, and lots of leather things. I have a riding crop. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it might be something one day. And so I assume that like y'all do some of the same things. Like, oh, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna use this one day. It's gonna come in handy. And then you just end up with
Is this going to be your special trip to Frolicon? Is that what this riding crop is for, ma'am?
I mean, maybe, we shall see, but just to catch on the comments, like Rizzo is like, cosplayer math is saving up money for cosplay making, but not for photography. And Tanya, Tanya, but I love that all that I have learned from YouTube, including how to fix my furnace last winter. Yeah, I learned how to repair my own dryer once. That YouTube University is very handy,
It is.
And if you've only cosplayed once your entire life, you could do more. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy the space, and it's for everybody. And that's another thing that I want to use to bridge into the next conversation I want to have with y'all, which is it is for everybody. But sometimes, say what?
I'm sorry. Before we bridge, and I know we're trying to stay on time, but I just wanted to say quickly that my most expensive cosplay was because there was a character that I was obsessed with that apparently nobody else was. So the costume didn't exist, so I had to commission it. And that was my United Earth President costume. It was the character that Stacey Abrams played in Star Trek Discovery.
Yes.
I was totally obsessed. And like I said, it didn't exist already. So luckily I have a very good friend who's also a very good seamstress. And she looked at it and made it. And so I was very lucky with that. Once again, I was obsessed with the character. Not many other people were. So I don't think it was my most popular. Although there's nothing like the feeling when you walk, you're walking in somewhere. I was walking out to the Star Trek photo shoot, and this young man held the door for me, and he bowed, and he said, "Madam President." And right then, I knew I was hooked on cosplay. So not everybody, not a popular costume. I loved it. It was my most expensive because I had to commission it. I'm more of a closet cosplayer. So probably my most popular was when I did Blind Owl last year. Everybody just loved Blind Owl. She was a big hit.
It's funny. I was thinking about doing Blind Owl this year because I got a gray. I still got my gray Afro wig from being Queen Charlotte, but I don't want to butt heads. So find me something else to do.
No, you.
Teresa even got somebody gave her a bag of booger sugar.
Yes.
Dragon God. I was feeling Blind Owl.
Oh no.
Which I quickly got rid of because I don't need no problems.
You make a point about that. Speaking of Blind Owl and of cartoon characters or characters in general, I saw this thing the other day, and I know y'all have seen it, talking about when it comes to race swapping characters in popular comics, etc. And I really had not paid attention to the fact of how many ginger characters end up being race swapped to Black characters, especially females, over time. Like just the look, redheaded. Just looking at all that, I was like, wow, okay, so maybe we are erasing them. But that is happening at the same time. Our history is actively trying to be disintegrated in real time. They're trying to snap everything to do with us. And so my question to you all is, um, what can we do? This is a thought question. This is a posterity question. What can we do to make sure we're not forgotten, especially in the fantasy space? I'm gonna give you a hint. Some of y'all are already doing it.
If anything, I would say just continue to make our own, like create our own narrative. I will always get inspired by like this one quote that like Tyler Perry had said, or I think it was something pertaining to like, you know, the Grammys or whatever, and they're like, y'all so worried about getting a seat at their table, like we can create a table of our own over here.
Mhm.
And it's just like you can't necessarily like as much as people want to shut people up, there's always somebody that's still trying to tell the truth. Like I just saw like this textbook about like Black history,
Mhm.
and it like is made by you know, a Black couple, and they're giving like the real facts that they're now trying to take out of schools and stuff like that. So I feel like if enough people get like just get tired of like them doing whatever, and then like pull their resources together and like pull together funding, pull together people, event space and different things, and like just create your narrative that you want for your, you know, stuff. People can't, you know, people gonna try, but they can't really like you can't erase all of it.
You can't.
It's too much.
Back on what Shanna is saying, and I think probably people have gotten tired of hearing me talk about this on panels at various conventions. We absolutely, positively have to support media that does portray us. And I find a lot of people scream that they want to see comic books and films and all these things that have Black characters, but in the same breath, they turn right around and complain about Marvel and DC and how they're reading X number of books that they have monthly pulls for that do not portray us, or they portray us in a poor light. Meanwhile, shows like ours that feature indie producers, those indie guys are always hustling, and they're hustling hard.
Mhm.
I see them at every show. I see them at every book day event that anybody has. They're there. They've got their book. They've got Kickstarters. They got GoFundMe. I know that I get a little burnt out on all the mail that I get from people that are trying to get a Kickstarter going, or they're trying to get funding for their film or whatever it is. You don't
Mhm.
have to support everything, but at least pick one or two things and help those people continue to get their projects out.
Mhm.
You have to do it. You can't keep buying more of the same stuff and complaining that you don't see yourself. Because I got news. Everybody is buying that stuff. They have no reason to include you because they don't respect your money. So don't keep giving them your money, or at least set aside some money for people who actually do care about your being interested in their book or their movie or whatever it is that
I
they're doing.
I'd like to also comment on this because I had being someone who worked in the classroom before I even went into film and manga and things. I worked in the classroom and I actually have like 7 years experience with that. And I remember the last school I worked at, some of the older teachers complained that the younger generation was more concerned with like being like TikTok influencers and things, and they were saying it was kind of causing problems for the STEM program. Now I'm going somewhere with this. It's not to say that you don't want to see the younger generation veering towards those fields as well, but people very grossly underestimate the power of creative fields and the ability to immortalize yourself, your community, your history, your experience by putting it in an art form or some kind of medium. Most people, I went to Tokyo a while back, and I came back and I went to a museum where they were talking about Hokusai, the guy who illustrated that famous Japanese wave, right? And one of the fun facts was that when he drew that picture and it reached other parts of the world, Debussy, I think I've said his name right. Claude Debussy was actually inspired to write a song called "The Wave" because he saw it. Hokusai made this one painting and it touched people around the world. It influenced the fashion industry. It
Mhm.
influenced architecture. It influenced all of these different things that people would not have imagined. And I think, you know, while every field is important, it is a privilege to be able to create and put your story out there, because when COVID hit and people couldn't go anywhere, and you couldn't go out and shop, or you could, but you had to be careful. When we had all these things where the world really stood still, what were people doing? They were watching movies, they were reading books, they were listening to music, they were consuming art. And so I think that part of preventing our erasure is continuing to understand the importance of our contribution to other fields, but also to art. And I think in a lot of households, we talked about how some Black parents will want you to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer, and that's okay. But understanding the importance of those fields as well. There's a quote. I'll finish it. There's a quote that said, "Until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter," and that
Mhm.
exactly how that relates to this. So keep creating.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. I could not have said it better. I think everything that you're saying is what has been on my mind around, making space for ourselves, creating things for ourselves. I like the idea, the Tyler Perry quote about, make your own table. And we all know that when we make it cool. And then other people who said we had nothing to contribute come right over, sniffing around. What's that y'all got over there? Can we have some of this? And that would be the one time they'd be like, no, we gatekeeping this because y'all don't know how to act. Every time we let y'all play with us, y'all end up stealing the ball. So guess what? We're not playing with y'all no more. I also think that it is important for like someone like me or like anybody on this panel, all y'all's friends or whatever, especially as we're in the age range where our children or our friends' children are in their formative years, 5, 10, 15 years old. If we know about these sources of Black representation in some of these indie things, to make sure that we're sharing it with our friends who have no idea what's going on, but they know that their kid bought some comic book, whatever, he bought Superman 99 or whatever. Hey, check out Seventh Kingdom, check out Wingless Comics, check out all these other things that are independent Black voices, so they can see themselves, and so it becomes just normal to see themselves in this medium, the same way it was normal for us to see like the Cosby Show. I will never forgive Fox for what they've become, because Fox used to be the place where all the Black shows started off, and now look at what Fox has become. That is diabolical. This is why y'all can't play with us no more. Y'all know how to
And
act.
CN network too.
Oh yeah, I was going to bring that up. UPN definitely used the Black community to grow their channel.
Mm-hmm. And so if we can grow these channels, we can create these channels. Now Tubi, we got work to do on quality. However, I'm not mad at the fact that half the time those shows become like a joke. And it's a joke, but it's a joke that everybody's at least sharing and watching and whatever. I don't have Tubi because I've seen the quality there. But what somebody mentioned, Husky Hokage said in the chat, support the media that portrays us in the right light. Well, that's why I think we've talked about Sinners before, and I think just that movie itself is a watershed moment in Black cinematic mastery. It's continued to be talked about. It's going to be talked about for years. I think about some of the other excellent acting that has been done over the past and that will be done in the future. Music, the fact that Kung Fu Kenny, whose name I can't remember, Kendrick Lamar, has Pulitzer Prize. Like we will be amazing. Oh, one other thing about art, and then I'll be quiet. I think that one of the reasons we see so many young boys struggle with their emotional intelligence, being able to cope with the pressures of the day, et cetera, is because they have removed the outlet of art from a lot of schools. And they tell you just, reading and math and science, maybe, because they keep trying to tell you that dinosaurs don't exist. And that Black people came here of their own volition. So school, maybe not. But the idea that art can help you give substance to the thing in your mind that you need to share with people. This is what I think the beauty of writing, of singing, of physical art, of painting, of cosplaying, of anything. Like Therese, when you mentioned wanting to play the Stacey Abrams presidential character from Star Trek and how obsessed you were with it, somebody probably saw you do that and became obsessed with you. Somebody probably saw the carnival Poison Ivy and fell in love, not in an objectification way, but in a, I didn't know this was possible. I feel like I can do that, which is what I think we as Black female cosplayers can be charged to do, to celebrate the curvy bodies that we have that come in all sizes, to celebrate the skin tones that we come in, and also to celebrate being a three-dimensional person and not just something that some box that they want to put us in. Yes, exactly, Hokkaido. We need art in schools to give ways for kids to be creative and use their imagination, and that imagination is being stifled. And we talk about them not having critical thinking. Art is a part of that. The same way that one wave created a wave of other things, we cannot ignore that part. And so I think we're all doing our part to help with that. Before I keep talking, anybody else want to add into what I'm saying, or you want to add on?
I did, when you were talking about representation, I'm a big sci-fi fantasy fan, so I love Lord of the Rings. And growing up, the original Lord of the Rings, you did not see too many of us in there. So if you watch the newer show, there is actually more Black characters in there. And my leeway to say where I'm going with that is, now we have Black Fade because of Jasmine. So now we have Black Fade across the entire United States. I know we have it here in Atlanta, we have it out there in DC, we have it in South Carolina, I believe. So now I'm seeing other people embracing the sci-fi, the fantasy, and they're becoming more, they're doing the Fade thing. So that was something I wanted to point out, because they tell us that we're not supposed to be in a sci-fi fantasy realm, but here we are creating days for ourselves where we can just express all types of fae and fairy. It just is beautiful. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about.
You're 100% right. And being a big fan of Afrofuturism, I love that aspect of it too. Like I've read a lot of what's her name, Nnedi Okorafor, and the whole Bone Children of Blood and Bone series, and a few others that I can't think of right now because I read a whole lot of stuff. But just this idea of bringing the African pantheons of gods and myths and monsters and stuff into sci-fi and fantasy, so that they have a place too. So now, instead of being mad because a little Black girl played Ariel, you know what? We got Mami Wata, so we good over here. We don't need your little stuff. We have our own stuff, and so I'm loving to see more of that too.
The African dysphoria coming into it, I love it.
So you know what? I never did ask y'all. Because we're talking about blurred spaces, we talked a lot about this, but even within our community, there is this disconnect, if you will, between men and women. Like I know there's I'm gonna call them out because I can do that. I'm grown, I do what I want. Because I'm not a member of this space. I used to be in a group called Extraordinary Journey of a Black Nerd, and I was in there for all of 2 weeks before people were posting doggone near naked pictures of Storm. And all I said was, can we have clothes on Storm for a change? And I got ran off for not knowing the character. What do you know? And then they started calling Storm all kind of names and questioning her moral character because she cheated on T'Challa or whatever. These are imaginary people. I just said, can she have pants on? Because she out here in a thong and a bra. Can we put clothes on her for a second? And people didn't like that. And I haven't messed with them since because I haven't heard anything good about this. And my point to this is, what has been your experience dealing with, aside from race, dealing within the Black community, brothers, in this nerd space?
Everybody taking deep breaths.
Well, Dearborn. I think probably everybody out there has that time.
Hang on 1 minute, Robbie. Tanya?
Oh, I was just going to say, I was also in the Extraordinary Journey of a Black Nerd, and it was back when Facebook would let people add you back. So I kept trying to leave, and people kept adding me back. And I was like, no. So I had to put a post on my Facebook wall. I was like, let me be clear. To anybody that I am missing out, I have been there. I have experienced it. I'm not going back. Please don't add me again. I still struggle with people wanting to gatekeep. I always have to prove. In fact, the other day I joined a Black gaming group, and another friend of mine is in the group, and he actually came to me and said, yeah, so your introductory was interesting. And I was like, yes, it was. Because I got a lot of, hey, how are you doing? But I also got a couple of ones that it was obvious that they were hinting at something. And then I had a couple of people who kind of, they threw me a curveball emoji, shall we say. And I'm just kind of going, number one, I don't have to explain or prove myself to anyone here. I I did lead off by saying I have gaming references though, because I felt that that was important. And why was it important? Because I know how this goes. You know, if you game, there's this expectation that you don't know what you're doing, or they assume that you only do mobile gaming like Bejeweled on your phone. I always hesitate to even call myself a gamer, even though I'm having this meeting with the computer that I built.
The
So
computer that you built.
that I built. Yes, ma'am. Cut my fingers putting the boards in. But there is still this perception that Black women, we don't know what we're talking about. I quit even posting in the comic book conversations about character S versus character Y, because they get real upset when you bring receipts. I had somebody told me that my receipt was too old. I literally
Wow.
gave him scanned pages out of an X-Men comic from the 90s, and he said that was too old. And I'm like, what is the cutoff for canon? You tell me, sir. And it's constantly that. There's always this challenge. You have to still challenge. You're still being challenged, even in spaces that are supposed to be for us by us. And it gets very tiresome. And I know for me, I've gotten to a point where I'm too old. So either we're gonna rock this or we're not, because I don't have to. So I just roll on.
Yeah, I've reached the hermit phase of my singleness where just get off my lawn or I shoot you. I don't want you around here. No, I'm protect my peace violently. You know, so that's just me. I'm just saying.
It's not. It's
Um,
not just you, Joy.
Robbie,
You're not alone.
Robbie, you had something to
Um,
say.
well, I was gonna say, I I think I just heard. I don't know. I think part of it is I heard some horror stories about like how that whole space was, so I just proactively avoided it. But I did have my occasional experiences where I like went to a convention, and it was something like I'm sitting down drinking water, minding my business, and yeah, like a male nerd kind of comes up to me, and he sees fit to like make some weird like innuendo. He's like, "Oh, you want to see my cool art?" And every picture he shows is just progressively more and more perverted. And I'm like, true fly.
Mhm.
I hate to say that, but like I just actively avoided that because I kind of how do I say? Mom told me that sometimes you have to learn by watching other people fall into the ditch so that you don't fall
Mm.
yourself. Like I heard certain things and I was like, "No, I'm good, all the way good."
Anybody else want
Yeah.
to jump?
I will
jump?
also
I
say the aspect of a lot of women having to deal with is not only, the gatekeeping or
Mhm.
trying to question our nerdiness, but also the rampantness that I see of
Mhm.
women creatives, um, creativity being stolen
Right,
and
and
being
like
repurposed.
just to
And
acknowledge for people that might not be able to read the screen. So Miles Simmons says talking to younger nerds, meaning like 30 and under, is often tiring, and he will gatekeep against them. So just so you know. But please continue.
but I think that's also what a lot of um, Black women in the nerd space has to deal with is for their creative, whether it's a panel, whether it's um, an idea for a convention, whatever. You hear all of these horror stories of their creativity being stolen and repurposed and not
Mhm.
getting the credit that they deserve for bringing it to the forefront. But
Mhm.
then, like RJ was saying, is the creepiness too, because literally, as soon as I created my cosplay, I had my people that I knew vote on my cosplay name, created my Instagram within 5 seconds, and it was my Yodoichi. I'm completely covered. I had dudes sending me pictures and videos of themselves in my IG inbox, and I'm just like,
I'm gonna do a quick PSA for every man out there that watches this, regardless of where you are in the world. stop sending penile photography because
Unwanted.
it never lands the way you think it will.
It doesn't.
I
Never.
mean, can we take that a step further on top of penile? Don't send me penile photos. Don't send me foot photos. Do not send
Yes,
me
or
photos of you with
videos.
your naked chest or
No.
videos. Do not send me that. Do not send me that.
You can, however, send me complete sentences.
Or
Yes,
money.
Right.
yes.
Yes.
Right.
Complete
It,
sentences are appreciated.
it
Send
cannot
me a
look
list of
like
the last 5 books you read.
yeah, it can't look like a Prince lyric. That's unacceptable. I
Yes.
just need complete sentences, no photos.
I mean,
Mhm.
we don't necessarily have to have the complete sentences. Money will take care of that. Donations, that works. Just preferably
Yes.
donations with whatever you're going to say, as long as it's not inappropriate. Just donations, money. We are
Hmm.
saying money. Don't worry about the statements. Just give us money.
We need the money for cosplay.
Yeah, money is
Exactly. Cosplay is
international
expensive.
and it is multilingual.
So I did just remember an experience that came to mind, and I don't remember if I mentioned this last time. Something that happened in a nerd space, but it wasn't amongst younger nerds, and it wasn't really amongst like convention like attendee type things. This was a panel I was on, and it was something where part of me felt that it had to do with age, but I think I realized that there was a lot more at play in this dynamic. I was on a panel, I won't say which one, and the men who were in this panel were all older than me. I was definitely the youngest person there. And when the host asked everyone to introduce themselves, he, said, "Oh, so and so, you've been in the industry for a while, blah blah blah." And he came to me. Understand, I'm also the only one who looks the way I do. And he comes to me and he says, "Okay, now, Robbie, I know you've not done very much. I know you've not been around very long, so you probably don't have very much to say. So if you can think of just a little bit of
The
something,
disrespect.
maybe something you're planning to do next year, you can feel free to." I said,
Wow.
"Oh." So then I said, "Yes, well, I'm the creator of this series, and we had this many pre-orders in under a year, and we have this many followers on blah blah blah." And I saw everyone's jaw just like drop with each thing I said, and I said, mm. But it was one of those things where it's like I had to wonder, was it my age, was it my race, was it all of the above? Definitely just the assumption that like you couldn't function or be thriving or have anything to contribute to the creative community. Ironically, and Mark was at one of my panels where I talked about this. One of the guys was very proudly saying, he's happy if he gets like one sale for his manga, and I was just like, "Lucky dog, what do you mean?" But making password just came out of me. But like, I mean, yeah. So I've definitely had experiences like that where they kind of just assume that you're underperforming by default.
Yeah. It can be a
Yeah.
weird experience because on the one hand, you're always having to struggle even though you have to do 10 times as much to get recognized to begin with. And then once you're there, everybody assumes that you kind of got there, talk about DEI now. Everybody assumes that you've been added to the conversation as a consolation, that you're not actually valid.
Yeah.
I went to a
Yes.
makerspace in town that I will not name. They were having an advanced 3D printing workshop. I had a very specific problem with one of my printers. Mind you, one of my printers. I began printing back when you had to build your printers. I went to this workshop, and in the middle of this, unprompted, the guy next to me says, "I have several. I could donate one to you."
Tell him you
Sir,
could
I have
donate
5 and I paid for them. And this is my very specific question now about the step and repeat motor and the difficulties that I'm having. And then he just looked at me for like several seconds while he tried to reboot, because actually I was not there expecting anyone to give me a handout. It was the advanced workshop. I signed up and paid for the advanced workshop. But there was still this idea that I was some needy person that had just come there and he was going to save the world by donating a printer to me.
It's interesting
That
that
he called his local school and library to see if they had one because perhaps they needed his donation.
it is wild to me how people get angry with you when you don't put yourself in the box they made for you. They're like, here's a tiny box. It's uncomfortable, but this is where I'd like you to be. And you're like, "Oh, that I don't find that comfortable. I don't think I'm gonna do that." Well, you're the and I should be. Yo, I just said I didn't want to be there. Maybe somebody else does, and that's good for them, but that's not for me. I I'm gonna jump topics just for a second because I saw this video and y'all may have seen it, where there's a guy and a girl on one of them stupid male podcasts, but y'all know I'm talking about. Not a podcast run by men, but one of those alpha male type deals. Um, and he was saying that women didn't want to hear the truth. And the woman said, yes, they do. They do want to hear the truth. They do want to know what you're really thinking. And he said, no, they don't. Because, if I tell a woman the truth, then she gonna start acting all crazy and blah, blah, blah. And the woman was saying, tell a woman the truth and she can choose if she likes to engage with you. If she doesn't want to just have, relations with you or whatever and wants to do other things, then she is within her rights to not choose you. He goes, see, that's what I'm talking about. She don't want to hear the truth, because she wants a relationship, blah, blah, blah. And if I'm just trying to smash, she ain't trying to hear that. And the lady was like, no, you don't want to hear the truth, because the truth is you're not worth a smash and grab. That's the problem. Is you don't want to be, she doesn't want you just for that. And a lot of women will, examine the entirety of a man. Like, it may not be physically what they want, or, the relations might be a 5 out of 10 at best, but he's a good man. He got a good job and relationship, and he's looking to get married and settle down. So you settle for all of that. But if it's just for the 5 out of 10, I don't want that. And so he was lying to women to convince them that he had more to offer. And then, dining and dashing, if you will. So, but he said women didn't want to hear the truth. The thing is, he didn't want to tell women the truth because it would help them understand that he wasn't worth it. And he didn't want to hear that he wasn't worth it. And I feel like that is another issue. Like when you talk about the minute you, Donique Cosplay, the minute you created your online presence, here come the creepers. We had a creeper in here a little while ago to tell you about what you need and about what's wrong with you. In the minute you don't respond in the box that he wants you in, it's all kind of all caps, all kind of yelling, all kind of cussing, because you are not doing what they want you to do. And I've seen that a lot, especially in we already talked about that one Facebook group, but also in cosplay online. The minute you post your pictures, half of them are, can I do something gross to you? And the other half are, you can't play that character. Very rarely do you get, well, it's happening more now as we support each other. Where do you get, work girl, or that looks great, or what have you? It's always something wrong, because this box was not meant for us. We came and we made our own. I'm going to be a black cosplayer. I'm going to be a curvy cosplayer. I'm going to do some mix and mashing, and I'm going to have Caribbean cosplay, whatever it might be. I'm doing this, and so I don't want it to be negative any longer than that moment. So I'm going to bring us back up out of that. But I want to also ask you all, what is your next cosplay or manga that you're reading or creating? Or what are your next projects? What are you working on? What you up to? Because some people, like I said, didn't watch the last show. So we're going to run that back. What are you doing in nerdy spaces for the next 3 to 6 months? We're going to go backwards this time. So Dana, I'm going to start with you.
I got a long list.
Okay, we're going to go recent in. No, I'm kidding.
Well, of course, I got MomoCon coming up in 10 days. I'm one of the staff members along with Ranger Stop in Pop Atlanta. It's going to be its last year here in Atlanta. So I'll be involved in that. Also, I just stepped into a new board position for NAP. And so I am navigating that in the community relations space for them.
What is NAP?
NAP is National Association of Asian American Professionals. So
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I am their vice president of community relations. So I'm going to be building that community relations within the Atlanta market for that space. So that's going to be part of that, and bringing that nerdy into that aspect also for them, and connecting them with creatives that is in the nerdy space, speakers and things like that for their national conventions and stuff like that. So and then I have another project I'm being pulled into. So
Hey, what's the music?
All right, RJ.
I am actually kind of in the process of preparing for MomoCon, so I actually will be there, but not the conventional sense. I'm going to play a game with my followers. They're going to have to actually find me at the event, and if they can, they'll get a free item. But I'll be advertising my series and enjoying the event. Still preparing for Ranger Stop. Is it Stop and Pop RSP?
Yes, stop and pop. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We got accepted to Otaku Fest in Miami, so I've been preparing for that as well.
Congratulations.
And then we also have. Thank you. Then, of course, I mentioned Tiger Sugar. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is actually like a custom cup that came in the mail today for my series.
Where'd you
and my
get that? I
celebration
want
of,
one.
Yes, it's beautiful.
We'll be at Tiger Sugar in Doraville. So when you come out to that, first 20 people will be able to get one of these or a different design for other companies.
And when it's that?
Because you got 6 sold right here.
So that will be July 26th, Doraville Tiger Sugar.
Okay. B. Cunningham.
All right. What do we have coming up? The first episode of the Blue Storm podcast will be airing next month. We are also getting prepared for MomoCon as well. We'll be entering in as press for MomoCon because I'm stupidly stoked that Kamen Rider Black is going to be at MomoCon this year. Going to make sure that I have my Kamen Rider Saber and my Rabbit Tank cosplay ready for that. What else are we getting prepared for? Also getting prepared for, I think I already mentioned it, Ranger Stop and Pop. That'll be our first vendor table this year. Mm-hmm. And also Dragon Con for the Friday night costuming contest.
Nice.
All right.
Go, Izzy.
Oh, my turn. Well, right now I'm in the process of getting one of my books published. Through one of my friends, she has like a little publishing house, so trying to get that done. I just started writing my very first action. It's like action type of book. So I'm working on that. It may take me a year or so to write that. As far as cosplay wise, I'm working on that shoot that I told Mark about. I want to do a Sailor Moon photo shoot with my 2 nieces as TV TV. So that's another thing that I'm working on. But that's it. I don't really have a whole lot going on.
That's good stuff. Oh, I'm writing a book, but I don't have nothing going on. Girl, come on.
Right. So I have a couple of events. This year I would say this is my first year of vending, so I didn't do too much vending, but I will be at Delaware State University, which is the HBCU that I went to. I'll be at Del State on June 14th, and they're having a like an event for businesses and stuff like that. So I'll be down there and doing a couple more HBCU themed or back to school themed events that I'll be going to within like September. And then like once the new year start, I wanted to kind of get in more like blurred spaces. But specifically for my book, I am entering in the phase where I'm going to be doing crowdfunding for issue number 2 of Heyman University. Just kind of getting all that together. I have gotten someone to illustrate it for me. So now it's just trying to make sure I have like a good strategy so I can get some good donations and stuff like that. So yeah, be on the lookout for my crowdfunding.
Okay. I got 5 on it at least, So.
Hey, all right.
All right, Tanya.
I have been missing from the cosplay scene for the last few years. Life intervened, but my plan is to show up and show out this year. I will be at MomoCon in not 10 days, but 240 hours. Because all of those hours mean something when you are a cosplayer. I will be there. I will have on something. B. Cunningham, I happen to have your email address, so know that I'm going to ask you about feathers because my plan for this evening was to laser cut a couple of 100 feathers. But if I can source for less than $1,000, because that was a number that I came up with that I found to be unacceptable, then there will be a feather thing somewhere.
Just let me know what you need. I probably already have it in my basement.
We can talk about that.
I love it.
To this. So yeah, so I will definitely be at MomoCon. I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing most of you. Some of you I saw earlier than a year at ASFE, but I look forward to seeing you there. And my sister Dana.
All right, Teresa.
I will be volunteering at MomoCon and Ranger Stop and Pop. I can be found on the Moana Nui podcast, What You Watching panel, as well as the Grown A Geeks panel. And after that, I will be trying to overcome the hurdle of procrastination to get my Dragon Con cosplay lineup together.
Oh man, you should come to one of my cosplay camps. I'll shame you into productivity.
No, you won't shame me. I commented on the last show that I needed information on that camp that y'all were talking about, because I definitely want to be there. So you will not shame me. I am willing.
Fair enough. Puts the whip away.
I need to come be shamed, because self-shaming is not working for me.
Right. Yeah, you need accountability partner.
Less productivity.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, as for me, I will also be at MomoCon. I'm looking forward to seeing all of y'all there. I will be doing whatever Dana tells me to. Probably jumping in on some panels, asking questions, doing interviews, whatever it takes to make it happen. I'll also be at Dragon Con. I haven't figured out my costume yet, but it will be at least 3. It's always The Handmaid's Tale because we're living in it now. But also, yeah, we'll figure out the other 2 as we get
the absolute worst timeline.
We are in all of the bad variants timeline, you know.
Yes.
But,
the absolute worst.
We're gonna get so yeah. A lot of people are asking about the cosplay camp, so make sure if you can put a link to it or something in the comments, the public comments. Maybe everybody can sign up what they want to, etc. That would be great. But we are a little bit over time, I know, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it back over. This has been another great conversation. I am glad that we did this tonight. I hope that y'all enjoyed it as much as I did. And Mark, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Before we go, just a couple of things I want to highlight. I would like to thank Anime Secrets for hosting this live stream and all the other live streams that Blerdography has been doing, as well as the RSP live streams that we've been doing. So thank you and Nate and everybody else at Anime Secrets, Toku Secrets. If you guys are going to Ranger Stop and Pop, please be sure to check us out for our Day Zero event. Anime Secrets, Carnell Holly Pictures, and Blerdography will be hosting the Day Zero Trivia Night along with Steve Newport as our host. So please come on out and check us out. That's going to be fun. It'll be from 8 to 10. Morphin' time. There we go. It's going to be a ball of success. And also, I have to do this. I want to spoil someone here on the panel. I want to shout out Miss Dana. Give her a very happy early birthday. If everybody can just join me singing the Black birthday.
Thank you, everyone.
We can try to sing it. It's going to be real offbeat because everybody's lag is a little bit different. But I think that'll be really, really funny.
And generationally, what is the Black birthday song right now?
I might need the birthday song.
Yeah, the happy birthday to you.
That's what we think it is. But I heard it was 50 Cent in the club.
Oh no.
Okay.
Somebody
go shorty. It's your birthday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We'll have to go with the
around us. So go shorty. It's your birthday.
All right. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, ready? Come on. You're gonna do
what will be even more chaotic and awesome is on the count of 3, sing whichever song you want to sing all at once. Ready? I hope there's at least 3 different songs. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday.
It's your birthday. It's your birthday.
Mess it up. It's the birthday girl. I'm trying to do a clean version of that song. That was awesomely terrible. I love it.
That was.
Thank you, everyone.
Tanya, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Atlanta Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo before we go?
Atlanta Science Fiction and Fantasy Expo, we just had a relaunch. Some of us probably remember us from before COVID. This was technically our 7th show. It came out of a single day writer's workshop that Tony Cade had at Challenges Games and Comics. If you don't know Tony, I think everybody in the Atlanta community knows Tony. He's owned a series of comic book shops. He's always been open, but he's changed the name. I don't remember the name when he was in Virginia Highlands, but it was the Dragon's Hoard when it was on Memorial Drive. Then he moved to North DeKalb, and it became Challenges because he wanted to keep the sign that all the kids in the neighborhood remembered from when Challenges was a gaming arcade in the mall. And now he has moved to North Lake Mall. And we did a 1-day writers expo, and the writers loved it. And we're like, well, can we do something again next year? And so the next year we thought, well, we'll add more people in different industries to it. And then it became kind of an industry thing. And then we were like, you know what? We really need something that showcases indie producers and indie content creators. And so that was how the Atlanta Science Fiction and Fantasy Expo was born. And it grew very quickly. A lot of people called it Dead Mall Con because we took advantage of malls that had limited retailers that were open. And so we used those empty spaces to have our panel rooms. And this year we were able to relaunch at North Lake Mall. It had, some bumps and some rough spots, but the feedback that we got was great. And we're excited, and it's definitely happening again next year. I think right now we're trying to come up with the date, so expect an announcement soon. I believe that it's going to be somewhere between like the last week in February and our usual second week in March. Because the con season has become very long, there was a time where conventions were strictly a summer affair. But if you live in Atlanta, you know that if you got a geek thing that you like, you can probably go to a show at least once a month. Somebody somewhere is having a thing that showcases your thing. So now we all have to be a bit more strategic when we put our shows on. But it is definitely coming up. What we do is Saturday is a day that we typically devote. We call it our fan day, where we do our fan programming, and that's your anime, your manga writers, all that kind of stuff. And then on Sunday is what we call professional day. And on professional days, that's when we have our workshops, our one-on-ones, our Q&As with content creators. Those of you who are out there who are looking to become better cosplayers, to start that podcast or whatever it is that you're interested in, we feature those panels on Sunday. So definitely check out the Atlanta Science Fiction and Fantasy Expo website. It still has content from this past event because it was just back in March, but you can go, and there's also a link that takes you to some of our older events, and so you can see the quality of the content. I think that's very important because a lot of times when people hear that it's a free event, they assume that it can't be that good. Well, I'm here to tell you it's a free event, and it can't absolutely be that good because we have a lot of support there are a lot of people on this group who helped us out this year as volunteers. People like Robbie, she was a guest and also a vendor. So we had a lot of support this year, and that's how we keep it free. And the way that we keep it free is that we do donations, and those donations come into us from businesses. We get a little bit of money from the county, but it's also important that we show the footprint. Who's coming to the show. So the more people that come to the show, the better show that we can put on. We do not charge an entry fee at all. We like to advertise that out in the community. One of the things that I was thinking about is when I was a young blerd nerd, there weren't that many shows. And now there's so many shows and so many choices, but there's definitely a price point for engagement, right? You can watch your Crunchyroll for free. You can watch TV at home. But when it comes to actually going to a convention, even the single day short shows that don't have a hotel involved, there's still that cover charge. There's that entry to get in. And we recognize that. And so we made a commitment to having a free show. And, we do what we have to do to keep those shows free. This year, we were able to partner with a great vendor called Tap In that let us take advantage of their product, which is like an e-badge. So we can actually keep track for the first time of how many people were at the show. We've always thought that we did 2,000 plus covers. We now have confirmation that we probably do 2,000 plus covers on a free show.
Nice.
So, definitely keep an eye out for it. We're always looking for vendors. We're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for people to come to us with ideas for the kind of programming that you want to see. So yeah, check us out. Come join in the fun. Yeah, that's ASFE.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Trying to think, anything else I need to bring up? Oh, Blerdography. Blerdography will also be at MomoCon coming up in 10 days. Oh my God, time is flying.
240 hours.
Right. Oh my God. And I'm not even ready yet. Dana, we gotta talk. We gotta talk. Then after that, I'll be at RSP, Ranger Stop and Pop again, day 0. Check us out. And then after that is Atlanta Comic Con in July, and then Dragon Con, and so much. Blurography be busy. Next Monday, I will be going live, but I'll be going live by myself for the first time. I'm going to call it Mark Alone. If you get the reference, let me know in the comments. But I have other lives planned up. June, we'll have the Black Men in Nerdy Spaces. A lot of people in the comments tonight are going to be in that episode, so please look forward for that, as well as a Juneteenth episode. It's probably going to be the same week, so that's going to be fun too. So if y'all want to jump on the Juneteenth episode, let me know in the private chat. We can get that started too.
DEI consultant from Houston. I've been doing Juneteenth my whole life. I would love to be on that episode.
You're already the moderator. I don't even know why you think I would have nobody else like other than you for that, especially for that episode. So I got you, Joy. But for everybody, this has been Blerdcast Live. Obviously, I really like doing these lives. I'm going to try to keep doing these every Monday if I can. But for everybody else, please subscribe to Blerdography on my YouTube channel right here. And you can listen to Blerdcast everywhere. Wait, that was a weird jump. You can listen to Blerdcast everywhere you listen to your podcasts, on Google, Apple, Spotify, all those playlists, all those places. I'm sorry. And you can subscribe to Blerdography on all social media platforms as Blerdography across the board. Thank y'all for coming on. I really appreciate this so much. Depending on feedback, we might have the next episode. I don't know what I'm gonna call it, but might have y'all back on again because, like, again, there's so much left on the table that we need to talk about. But before we go, I just want to say happy birthday to Dan again.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And we're out. Thank y'all for watching.
Good night, y'all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.